I cannot believe they actually pulled the fucking trigger, man. Tonight, SmackDown was in Berlin, Germany, I believe. They were overseas. This is the beginning of the European tour before they head over to Saudi Arabia for the Royal Rumble. And tonight we had an eventful SmackDown. The second 3-hour SmackDown here of 2026, and this was mainly built around the 3 stages of hell match between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. Going into this, I advocated for possibly having Drew win the championship because, it would spice things up. It would add some more interest into that SmackDown division because that's something it desperately needs. But in the back of my head, I kind of knew that they possibly weren't going to pull the trigger on Drew McIntyre. They were going to play it safe, much like how they always do, especially with Cody, that they, typically play it safe. They won't venture out to go and, explore these other options with this other stories. And I kind of figured they had the stipulation of 3 stages of hell simply for the fact of they want to give you the visual pin that Drew McIntyre is going to get over Cody. Like at the very least, they would give him a pin. At the very least, they would give him a visual pinfall over Cody here during this match, and then eventually Cody would retain at the end. But I think overall the feud goes. I think this was probably their better match. Again, this was a longer match. This was, I think, 30 or 35 minutes. They had the regular, traditional standard match in the beginning. It went like 3 or so minutes, which was very quick. After Drew McIntyre low-blowed Cody and gave him the Claymore kick. And then they went into the Falls Count Anywhere section, which was a lot of just brawling back and forth. Cody got the win over that after a crossroads on the announce table. Then they went into the steel cage portion of the match, which was probably the longest portion of this match. Eventually, we get to the end, though, where Jacob Fatu, he was a masked man, right? All dressed in black. Jacob Fatu shows up here and attacks Drew McIntyre. And Cody sees this, and Cody, being the dumb babyface that he is, goes and confronts Jacob Fatu, and then Jacob Fatu smacks the hell out of Cody Rhodes, and this leads Drew McIntyre a perfect opportunity for him to take advantage, simply crawl out of the steel cage, granting him the WWE Championship. So now, as it stands, Drew McIntyre is the WWE Champion. Very surprising that they would actually go with Drew as the champion. I think Drew is probably going to end up holding this title probably well into the Elimination Chamber. And now it adds a lot of interesting dynamics as far as, Cody now, he's going to be in the Rumble, I presume. And he may still be a heavy favorite to win that championship back from Drew McIntyre, whether that's the chamber, whatever that is. And we also have to deal with Jacob Fatu, because now that Jacob Fatu is back, we don't know who attacked him still, right? He went after McIntyre, but he also went after Cody. Now, was that, wrong place at the wrong time for Cody? Again, who knows? But I think now it's a lot more clear that we might possibly see a Cody heel turn. At the very least, last year it was far-fetched. You weren't going to get it. This year, it's a lot more realistic to see Cody potentially be the heel here. Again, time will tell whether that's the case or not. Again, Royal Rumble now is very unpredictable because not only do we have Cody in there, we have people like Braun Breaker in there, possibly Roman Reigns as well. Again, they're still on that idea of Roman and Cody. So don't be surprised if we still get that match between Roman and Cody at WrestleMania. And don't be surprised if Cody ends up regaining the championship at the Elimination Chamber, causing this match to be a championship match once again. They also mentioned that they're going to have a Fatal 4-Way at Saturday Night's Main Event to crown the number 1 contender. I forget exactly who is in this tournament. I remember names like Damian Priest, Solo Sikoa, Randy Orton, Sami Zayn, so on and so forth. And I think probably what the direction is you're probably going to see Drew McIntyre defend against Sami Zayn, because during this program they had a segment in the back in which Sami Zayn was kind of pulling for McIntyre, only for the fact of he's never beaten McIntyre one-on-one, and if he could do that and beat him for the title, that would be such a sweet moment for him. So they might want to tell that story. And we also have to factor in Randy Orton. Where does that stand? Because he challenged Cody last week. Now that Cody isn't champion again, what does that leave for Randy Orton? A lot of moving pieces to this whole story. I'm actually kind of glad that they took the championship off of Cody. And apparently there's reports now saying that Cody and McIntyre advocated once again for this to be the case, for this to be the scenario, because they advocated once for this to happen at WrestlePalooza, but they got shot down. And now, they actually, pulled the trigger and made Drew the champion. And again, it adds a lot of interesting dynamics as far as that goes. Also kind of leads you to ask the questions as well as who attacked Jacob Fatu, because Jacob Fatu is once again back in the main event title scene on SmackDown. That was the most intriguing part of this show. Other than that, there really wasn't much here to sink your teeth into. There was a great match here between Carmelo Hayes and Shinsuke Nakamura. I believe that Shinsuke Nakamura, it seems like we see this guy maybe every 4 months or so. It was kind of weird to see him once again back, because I haven't seen him in a while. But they had a great match here. Carmelo Hayes, they're actually doing well by Carmelo Hayes, right? 2026 is looking like it's going to be a stellar year for Carmelo Hayes. Again, I hope they keep that momentum going forward, because the crowd obviously loves Carmelo. There's not much to hate. There's not much to dislike about Carmelo. So I hope they keep pushing him forward with that. We also had some additions to the SmackDown roster. Jordynne Grace is moving up to SmackDown. She is potentially challenging Jade Cargill for the championship. Jade Cargill is in a scenario much like Stephanie Vaquera is, where there's literally nobody else that they can have to challenge the champions. So they have somebody like Jordynne Grace, which I love Jordynne Grace, but it's way too early to have her in the championship picture scene, because she's literally just debuting on SmackDown. Why would you do that? It's so counterproductive to what you actually should be doing. We also had Julia against Alexa Bliss. Poor Julia, man. She is just like crickets when she comes out there. Nobody seems to care, and that's really just a problem with the creative aspect of that whole United States Championship, because it literally seems like there's no challengers. There's nobody of interest of note there. So literally every time that Julia comes out there, it's crickets. Again, I may be forgetting, a thing or two here and there, but frankly, what I wanted to talk about here was the championship match, 3 Stages of Hell, between Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes, with Drew McIntyre finally becoming the WWE champion. Again, opens up a lot of possibilities as far as, this is Royal Rumble season, this is WrestleMania season. It seems like now everything is kind of flipped upside down, and now we have to try to piece together what they're going to actually end up doing for WrestleMania season. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of tonight's episode of SmackDown. Let me know what you thought of Drew McIntyre becoming the WWE champion. Let me know down below everything. And until next time, I will see all of you on the next one.